Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Townsfolk Tussle, which was a game that I was highly anticipating. And this was actually one that you had brought to my attention. Or you had mentioned it at the time it was on Kickstarter or something. Mm-hmm. Because the Patreon guy.
Finn. Yeah, he was recommending other like boss battler styles.
Right. Mainly other games that weren't
it's
KDM.
Like, he's so burnt down on KDM. He's just like, just try any of these games.
Any of these other games and you will be satisfied. No, there are two games that, well, technically there was a Cuphead dice game that came out, but there was another game called Vagrant Song that technically some people got last year. Oh, we
saw that. It was sold out.
Yeah, it sold out, but it was on pre-order for this year, so it's technically, I would say, a 2022 game. But in that rubber band physics, Popeye, like Cuphead,
like
Betty
30s,
Boop,
20s kind of cartoon.
Yeah, art style, which is something that I think is definitely. I mean, Cuphead obviously brought that to everyone's attention.
Brought it back,
and basically, if you want to play like Cuphead the game, this is absolutely
this is solid stuff right here.
I very much love this game, which is super satisfying because I hate when I'm very excited for a game. Mm-hmm. And it's very rare where I'm just like, oh my god, I can't actually wait to play that. And I was listening to they had a podcast that they shared on, not podcast, a playlist on Spotify of like songs that were inspirational.
Oh, cool.
And I was listening to that a lot. And, man, this one is so much fun. Challenging, but not over challenging, where like there's ways out of certain things. Yeah, it does rely on dice, pretty much what you can do in terms of hitting or terrain or town events are all based off just a D10 roll, but they have ways to mitigate all that. I love it. I think it's a fantastic game. So, what do you think?
What do I think? Yeah, I enjoy its bite-sized nature. I mean, as a chronic KDM user, my veins.
Right.
I still love the game, but I like that it has the option because my complaints of KDM, it's just like it's always a 30 goddamn year campaign, and it's like great.
Yeah,
like you can't bite size it. But this is perfect, and the fights went super quick.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like it wasn't overwhelming. The setup was not a huge hassle. It's like you blast through 4 bosses, not a terribly long time. You can swap between them very easily. Yeah, and it was awesome. It's a good time.
Yeah, the bosses, there are 12 total, and you're always going to at least fight 4 bosses. And I say at least because you could just lose. And as soon as any of you are knocked, or not any of you, if everyone's knocked out, then you just lose. But it is always a 4-boss romp, which takes about what does it say? 40 minutes per player. I don't think so.
To finish 4 fights? Is it calculating that?
That's what they're saying. I mean, it took us about 2.5 hours.
Was that? Yeah, I hadn't checked the time.
Yeah, it took, and we didn't it wasn't fiddly or anything. I think that's definitely just optimistic. But it would be nice if you were able to maybe modify that to where it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe a tile or something that goes on here. Let's just do 2 bosses, and then it changes so you only fight 2 bosses, or you just fight the 1. But besides that, with 12 bosses, each of them essentially have 4 difficulties, because depending on how they come out. If Will Barlow, which was our final fight, everyone has a final fight special rule that is specific to.
That's really cool.
That is really, really cool. So that's something unique to them and how they fight. And then if he's Troublemaker, okay, he has this special ability. If he's Hooligan, he's this. And then if he's a Chump, which basically just means they don't have any special rules. That's just that already adds to insane replayability with just 12 fights. Something KDM, and obviously we're going to be comparing this to KDM because it's the major boss battler out currently. It's similar to their higher levels. Okay, well, a level 3 Lion has these attributes that are coming out, and modified statistics.
Right.
They don't have that, which is actually interesting. Like, their movement and health is flat based off of number of players. And I was very surprised that it wasn't also, like, they got their special ability as well as a bump in movement and health.
Right.
So, and I never felt any of the bosses were easy. Well, the bandits were kind of easy. But I think that's also just very dependent on how we had built.
Yeah,
and
they definitely. I definitely feel like their balance is definitely within a very thin range.
Yeah,
it's like it's not big numbers, very little numbers. Like none of the gear was huge, like big change in our
in your stats.
Yeah, it's not like +4 Moxie,
right?
And do all these things.
I mean, some do have that, but they typically have a modifier, like the gear that gave you +4 movement. Like, where was that?
I think the way they run this, I'm calling it my face, the town phase.
Yeah.
They put out so many gear cards, and they make it cheap enough to where you can refresh them. So you have enough options, and I definitely see them making the cost of them more. Like how much money you're going to have down the line, and that's probably how they kind of tabulated.
Yeah.
Like where your strength's going to be. It's like, okay, you'll probably have this much money at this point, this much at this point, so then you could afford the cheaper stuff that's not going to buff you too terribly to kind of keep the challenge up.
True.
Something like that.
Yeah, because you definitely aren't going in and running the peddler empty. Like, you're not being like, I'm going to buy all those.
Yeah.
Because what's amazing about the gear is, one, there's so much to it. Like, literally, I only had half the deck, and we got through about half before there's just this much more of just random gear. So some people might not like that, because it is what was coming out is just might always be garbage. But I don't think so. I think after all the playthroughs of this, there's nothing that comes out where you're just like, why is that even a card? You know? Not taking into considerations for KDM, like, there's some gear that is just absolutely useless until they modify it later on. But this doesn't have that. There might be something you're like, that's not good for me because of my build, but something is always useful. And we both just happened, you went for the range and modifying range to do extra damage. I went for movement and ended up getting screwed in that last fight.
The
orb, man. Like, we had to work around that, like, to make it work. But what's fascinating about this one is the fact that it touches, at least for me, it touches on randomness in just a way that it's not frustrating. When you miss, like, you either didn't build a certain way to modify your accuracy, or you rolled a 1. And rolling a 1 and rolling a 10 is very rare. But it's like, okay, yeah, I rolled a 1. That's fine. Like, I was able to heal myself. Or just because you don't have to move it and then attack, and you can, your actions are free. Or not free, fluid. Which I love. I love the fact, I have fucking 9 straight movements.
That's always nice. It's always enjoyed in any game. Where it's like fluid. You don't have to, like, okay, finish your movement. If you stop to attack, movement's gone. The rest of you only move 5 spaces, but it's all gone.
Yeah. Or you can't, if you attack, you can't move out.
I know. Yeah.
Just things like that. This is just like, nope, you can, if you have ways to get like 20 movement, you could run in, hit him, run to the bar and activate it, run back, hit him.
Yeah.
Like, your turn is kind of dictated based off of your Moxie, really. And I think that's really cool to be able to, how effective, and even says in the rulebook, how more Moxie means you have a more efficient turn. It's just kind of how it is. And you can build on that. You can build on having a shit ton of Moxie.
Your character started with a lot of Moxie. Like, I was, like, suffering it, too, there for a bit.
Yeah. But both builds and both characters and both stats were viable. Like,
oh, no, I'm not saying that I didn't like it, but it's definitely balanced by the far-sighted. I'm just like, I am going to hit at longer ranges.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is like, there are times in, like, a 4-player, well, you always have 4 in KDM, where just based off how the events have gone or the items that you happen to have the resources for to give out, most of the time 2 of the characters are useless. They're kind of cannon fodder. And in this particular thing, both of us had different builds, different strengths and weaknesses, and we were both useful. which I very much enjoy. The range of... I think they actually did a fantastic job by making so many gear cards, and props to them for making all of them, like, at least funny, useful, in some way.
Right.
My God, there's just so much here, and there's a lot of references to different stuff. Obviously, the hero shield, was Link. There's Itchy Sweater, which immediately made me think of the eyelash sweater from SpongeBob. They had a fishbowl, which was headgear, which is supposed to be, I think, a reference to Mysterio from Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
He's supposed to have a fishbowl helmet. I think. But I feel like they had to have taken inspiration from KDM, because every boss has special gear that you can, like, knock off. They have a weakness that certain AI cards will allow you to activate. And then the fact, their AI deck isn't dictated by their health. It's just, hey, here's their health.
Right.
So, and then theme just enhances everything about this game. If this was a generic boss battler or something, I probably wouldn't be so into it. But I love the Cuphead theme. Cuphead was a fantastically difficult boss rush game. And this encapsulates that completely. Do you have any negatives on the game?
Negatives. Well,
I don't have negatives, but I have things that I would like to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they... Not 100% sure how I feel about the marks when they just activate and break through and attack.
Yeah.
It's measured. It's like you can calculate, you can take it into account. I'm just not sure how I feel. I wouldn't call it negative.
I very much like this a lot better than the trap because
for sure.
Because you can be like, oh no, don't hit him because I need to do something. Like
he's gonna fucking
he will kill me if he activates. Like, so unless he happens to run away, yes, then please just let me do something.
There's it's definitely a simpler game.
That is true.
A lot less overwhelming. I mean, it's definitely more of a bite size. I'm not gonna call it bite size. It's still a big game.
Yeah.
But of course, anything compared to KDM is smaller.
Right. The price is obviously a lot cheaper. I think it was $100. Like $100 just for everything.
Yeah.
So I think there's 8 total characters, 12 bosses. Minis obviously don't come painted. Cat did those. The terrain pieces are colorful, has terrain. The breaking point I love. That kind of reminded me a little bit of like Dark Souls and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, half health, second phase.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a second phase, but it is kind of a double move. If you deal a damage to them on their turn, well, they're going to go twice in a row. If you're last on the beaten order, then your turn immediately ends. Then he goes, and you're just like, oh, well, he goes, and he goes again. So it's more than just, man, I really hope I get to hit. Yeah. Oh, the trap, great! How fun!
No, I understand. When compared to that, yes, but like as a, anyway.
Yeah,
it's a poorly thought out opinion of mine. Just not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah. So the one thing that I would like to see, and I know, and I like it initially, but I can see on repeated plays it can get kind of stale, is actually the terrain. The way the board is set up is always the same for every boss. So Will Barlow will always be this terrain type. Now, how you move around and where you start and how his cards come out might dictate how you're moving and what you're utilizing, but I would actually prefer a more customizable map.
Yeah.
So similar to KDM, where you draw the scrap pile, and it's like, hey, 4 spaces away from the edge,
and then you get to dictate where.
And you get to place it. I would like that, because I feel like our particular builds and the way the cards come out drastically hindered one of the bosses, like the Troublemaker, the Bandits. like, we completely annihilated them, and I double-checked a rule because I was like, okay, let me just make sure. Yeah, obstacles hinder movement for both Ruffians and characters.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hinder, like, ranged attacks. So if they are attacking, they get to shoot through obstacles, we don't. But they never did that, so we just had to run. It was just a narrow path that they had to run down, and they didn't have enough movement to catch up to us, so we were able to... I was able to run up, hit them, run away. You were able to range shoot them.
Yeah.
So, because of that, like, it's just kind of like, I want a challenge. I guess I'm weird, because I like games to be hard, but not unfairly hard, which I don't think this game is. But it would be nice to have, like, the abundance, and it just tells you what terrain is coming out, and then they just have rules on them of how they get placed. Just for a more customizable, just because, I mean, they already changed so much on where they're at, what their AI cards are coming out as. It would just be nice for more variety on, we're playing abundance. Okay, we know here's the gear. How do we want to set it up? The back of that should just be a suggested, hey, if you haven't fought these guys before, place the terrain like this. And then from then on, you should just be able to be like, where do we want to put it?
Could be.
I guess you technically could. Like, there's nothing stopping you from placing it wherever.
Yeah. You could house rule it easily enough. But I definitely see they were trying for more of like a curated, I guess, experience. Because it's like, so now you get the scheduled boss and the scheduled terrain type that they devised and felt most appropriate for the build of this boss.
Right.
And they add more of a bit of a tactical thought process to it. I mean, when the obstacles actually obstruct enemies, because I'm not used to that.
Right.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
So I just hop over the fence, and now it's like, now they have to lumber around the fence, because I felt like we benefited a lot with Dozy and the Borlows. Boros, whatever they're called.
The Bundits?
Bundits.
Okay. Well, Will Barlow.
Oh, that's right. Fucking shit. But anyway, I felt like several fights we benefited from being able... I did, especially. Just them having to move around the terrain to even get to me. Yeah.
No, I mean, I completely agree. And the terrain definitely comes in handy. Like, especially... Like the fence, for example. It's like, if you're being targeted a lot, you can just hop over it. And that means that the Ruffian has to go around, and you get to actually activate it to get away from it. Because the terrain does come in your favor for the most part because of the fact that you don't have a lot of health. And there's no, they roll and, here's how much damage they do. It's static, flat damage. And sometimes it's just like, take 2 hits, and you're just like, I only have 3. All right, I need to find some way to heal. All the places that are around are used. So, there were a lot of times where we came very close to death, but we're able to circumnavigate that.
Yeah, I didn't feel the AI deck was too punishing. They did have a lot of unique abilities that didn't just deal damage.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just beating you to pulp, because it's like when you could have very easily just died.
Yes.
It just possessed you.
Right.
And that gave us just that extra turn we needed to put him down.
And that reminds me of, like, the nail biter that, like, Aeon Zen gives, which is, I guess, it's like a boss battler, like, as a deck builder, where the turn order deck is random, whether they go, and there are times where you're like, okay, if he goes, we lose. If one of us goes, we win. And then you're like, yeah! And then that was like this one where I'm just like, okay, like, I have to get out, I have to hit. Then he went, then I took a damage, and I'm like, okay, if you miss, then I'm gonna die. Because, actually, no, he would have just buried me again.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just kind of the system. And the AI deck of KDM is easily the best part, because it's not just like Folklore, for example, where it's just like, they have 70 health.
Right.
That's it. They just do the same thing.
And it's definitely unique in that when you deal damage, you are affecting their behavior, which is really cool.
Yes, that was always my favorite part, besides the theme and the lore of KDM. That was always my favorite part, because it felt like an actual boss and a creature that you were fighting. It does the exact same thing here, where what they're doing, I mean, because I think there's 15 cards. 1, 2, 3, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yes, yeah. So each boss has 15 cards. And like you said, they're completely unique. They're not just, deal a damage. Mm-hmm. And that makes fighting them. Because whenever we fought the Straw Man, he played completely different from the last time I fought him.
Yeah.
In fact, in that fight, he has cards in his deck. And similar to, once again, KDM, if you fight him a lot, you kind of know how they fight. Which is, thematic. Mm-hmm. Like, it's every video game boss. You know what, the whatever...
What's going to do.
What the cleric beast is
right, you know
do,
the move set. You know where to move stand at this point.
Yeah. But in that game, he, what was... Oh, he actually ran and destroyed a terrain. Mm-hmm. So he ran and destroyed, the fence, and then... would run to the cornfield and actually stuff his shirt with straw or corn and heal himself.
Oh, shit.
So they have those cards around. This just depends on how they come out.
Yeah.
So it's just so good.
Mm-hmm. It was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I would play again.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, fun fact, I do know that at the time of this recording, they are going back on Kickstarter for expansions and a reprint.
I might have to get this game.
I figured you would.
I probably shouldn't.
You should.
But I should.
Especially if you're painting. These miniatures look sexy as hell. Mm-hmm. The color scheme is exactly what I wanted whenever I had Kat paint them. Because I was like, it needs to be bright and they need to look like very colorful.
It's cartoony.
Because the game is not... kid friendly. Cuphead is kid friendly.
Mm-hmm. Decapitated kid for stealing
a candy bar. The Scarecrow is stabbing a kid on his art. They have the nudist sword, which has balls. They're pixelated out, but it's definitely a more adult theme, which I enjoy. Mm-hmm. I get into this a lot more. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the expansions. I don't know anything about that. I don't know what they're doing, but I knew before I even played this that I wanted more. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what are they going on? I was like, I wonder if they're going to go on Kickstarter again. And yeah, I saw it because I follow a forum on Board Game Geek that's upcoming Kickstarter projects, and this was put on it for this year. So more expansions, most likely. This game was not begging for more. There's a lot here and a lot of replayability, but you can just be so whimsical and so creative with the different types of bosses. It's magnificent. And we were talking about it before. If they can get the IP or the okay, they could add some Cuphead bosses.
Very easily.
They could add the Dice Devil. They could even have one of the playable characters be Cuphead.
Yeah.
It's such a, like you said, bite-sized game that you can easily teach this. You can teach this game in 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Hey, by the way, here's what you do in your turn. Oh, the buying phase, it's just buy the cards and equip them.
Yeah.
Here's what you do on your turn. You can move and attack. And I was listening to a reviewer talk about this game, and he was like, yeah, pretty much all you do on your turn is you move and attack. And I'm like, well, sure, you can make that argument for any, type of fighting game.
Yeah.
In Too Many Bones. Oh, all you do is move and attack. But I think in this one, there's actual thought behind it. So many times was based off how you were moving, what terrain you were then going to do. In what order should you attack? Mm-hmm. Should you swap out gear and use that gear before you do something?
Yeah.
It's, there is more thought, and like you mentioned with the terrain, because of so many obstacles, where you're at on the board is actually really nice. Mm-hmm. I think in these kinds of games, orthogonal movement is the best way to go.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do not like diagonal movement.
Because I think, isn't the theory essentially that you're moving too faster than you should be
with diagonal movement?
Yeah, it's it really...
Yeah, because you actually, a 5 spaces actually matters, versus, 5 diagonal gets 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gets me here. 5 diagonal gets me all the way over here.
Right.
And it's yeah, I guess thematically this is an open field, so you should be able to move however. But as a mechanical game, orthogonal movement just works, and it works for them too. They essentially they cover double the distance, or actually quadruple the distance than us, so they get to us quicker. So, with the expansion, I would like to see if they're going to add more bosses and more characters for sure. I would actually like to see like modified rules. I would like customizable like terrain. That would just be nice. You could always just do that.
Yeah.
Oh, instead of placing the ditch like that, let's do it this way and see what happens. And I would like to actually see increased movement and health based off of where they're at. That might make it harder because, granted, we almost died multiple times. You did die in the first fight.
Yeah, the first fight. He just kept throwing.
He kept throwing crows directly at you. And maybe they didn't do that for a reason, because it's already so random. They probably thought increased health will.
Like I said, they keep a low scaling.
Yeah.
They keep our health low. The only way to get or lose permanent health is from your chest armor.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a few other gears that...
leg gear gave you +2 maximum health with -1 movement.
Yeah, so it's like you're not going to have a shit ton of health.
Yeah.
You're not going to like...
So
you're always going to be on the edge.
You're building for that, but then you're not getting anything else.
Exactly, and I know they put like subtract your movement or whatever. It's like, okay, great, I can move one space.
Yeah, so you're a tank. Yeah. But, I always like a challenge. I'm sure they're going to be super creative. Most likely, if I had to guess, they're probably going to add, more bosses, more characters, and probably, if they're adding any new rules to those bosses, they're probably going to add in cards or something that change these bosses.
Yeah. So, it's like, well, I love this genre board game, for sure. And this is a nice... It's like, I enjoy... what you could say a weakness or strength of KDM is the campaign length. It's in the campaign length that it's like, okay, it's intimidating to get someone new in. But if you get someone that wants to play, enjoys playing, and it's like, then you're just looking forward to it, and then everyone's growing, getting stronger as the campaign, progresses forward.
Right.
But this is nice that you get that in a much smaller experience, and you don't have to do all that bookkeeping.
Yeah, and you also don't have to shell out $400 to play.
Yeah.
That's easily the biggest thing. So, like, with that being said, it's like a lot of people might be like, why do I enjoy this and not KDM? Well, as you can attest to, I went to your house the other day and we played KDM. And it was 5 fights later, 3 in the morning, I had a headache, and I was like, yeah, I'm starting to get annoyed.
Yeah.
But there were other factors because of that. The biggest reason why KDM pissed me off so much was because it costs so much for it to have so many problems.
For sure.
Like, if this had those same problems, which it technically does, like die rolling and town events can just fuck you through no fault of your own. I paid $100.
Yeah.
So the price point doesn't have me as angry. Right. You can overlook that.
Didn't have to build any miniatures.
I didn't have to build any miniatures. They all came together. Everything's organized in one box. And the theme, I think, lends itself, because you're going into this like in a whimsical feeling versus like a grim and dark thing where you're kind of serious about the game. This one, you're not as serious. So whenever you miss or something, it's theoretically funny. Whenever you ate my thing and I needed to heal, I was like, what the? And then we were able to thematically represent it, and it was funny instead of irritating. Imagine if that happened in KDM and it's like, I'm going to die, and if this character dies, then that's just
just gone.
That's 10 lantern years just out the window. And this obviously doesn't have that. So yeah, and also because it's not a campaign. Not that I don't mind campaign games, but it is a nice... You get a mini campaign, 4 bosses, instead of it being...
Knock it out in 2 hours? Yeah.
And there's a shit ton of town events. These aren't even all of them. There's not as many, but you only will ever go through... Well, in a 2-player game, you'll go through 8. Yeah, 8 total. The feat cards, I think these are super fun.
Yeah, they are fun. Gives you little goals, so it's not just go in and fight. It's, okay, I want to be stronger for the next fight, this fight, and it'll give me money or immediate benefits.
Yeah, because if you never complete these, then you're going to have less money for the buying phase. But you could be like, oh, I get to complete all these. Oh, man, I really need accuracy. Okay, I completed this one, and that gives me +2 accuracy for this fight. And yeah, a nice little goal of who's going to be the new sheriff, and that modifies the final fight. Those are a really cool, like, mini goal to go after in each fight. And then if you get a dealt a shit hand, you can either try to make them work, or the next fight, you're just like, okay, I'm going to toss them all and draw 3 new ones.
Yeah.
They really hit the nail on the head with this one. So yeah, I'm definitely obviously going to get the expansion stuff, and we'll see. We'll see what they do with it.
Yeah, let me know when they are on Kickstarter again.
Yeah, I think I just saw 2022. I don't know if they have a date yet.
Yeah.
I might see if they have it on their website.
Jump in. This would be a good one to put on the shelf.
Yeah, the box is fantastic. All right. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you going to give Townsfolk Tussle?
Give Townsfolk Tussle. I don't know. It's a good time, and it tickles my balls.
It tussles your balls?
Tussles my balls.
Tussles your townsfolk?
Oh, it's good. I might give it a 10 like KDM. I don't know. It's got... Because it's like, I'll usually say 9. Like, I feel like it's like a really good game.
Yeah.
But I'm always just slightly held back. But I'm like, well, this isn't really... it may not be my perfect sync. But this... I mean, I enjoy the gear. I enjoy the fighting the bosses. And the just bit of odds, maybe we'll get some unique gear, and building your character.
Yeah.
It's always my jam. I always like being able to have a specific character and then modify them at my leisure.
And like in the randomness, for example, with the dice, is your attack isn't an end all be all. Like if you roll a 1, it's not just like, oh, we're fucked. Like, oh, it's like I have 6 moxie. This weapon costs me 1. Theoretically, I can attack 6 times.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why they have the break points, because otherwise, that's if I hit 6 times, that's 12 damage. No, because it's going to hit a breaking point and end my turn.
Yeah, it's like he has these guaranteed extra turns.
But it's not like, okay, I have to roll to see if I hit. Okay, now I have to roll to see if I do damage, which KDM does, but other games also do that. Where it's like, but if I hit it, shouldn't I just do damage? Yeah, that's just what you do.
Did you hit it hard enough?
Right. So it is nice where it's like, okay, I have this thing cost me 3 moxie to attack. I got 6. I missed. Okay, I'm gonna try one more time. I hit him. All right, now I'm gonna gonna run away. Yeah, so it's not just so restrictive.
No, I really enjoy this game. I would recommend this to anyone. I'll give it a 10.
Yep, I completely agree. It does just enough randomness, and the theme totally sells it. They knew exactly what they were doing when making this game. Even the complaints I had were more just slight improvements. There's nothing wrong with having the terrain be the way it is, because we could have just gotten completely lucky on our builds, and the way the cards came out. The abundance could just be insanely difficult next time you have them come out, because we don't have range or we don't have anything like that. And that's just the variety. So if these bosses were the exact same every time you fight, it wouldn't be as fun. But because it's like, oh, Will Barlow again. What order of cards are coming out? When is he in? Like, is it going to be easier or harder because I don't have an orb that deals damage to me? Yeah, there's so much variety to this, and I love the fact that they're coming out with expansions already. Because this is just getting delivered to people. Like, awesome. I just got it like a week ago, and they're just like, yep, here's more. And I'm like, yes. Sweet. So I completely agree. I'm going to give this a 10 as well. But I can definitely see a lot of people hating this because of just die rolling. But if you want to try a boss battler and you don't want to shell out the money, this is an excellent. Alternative.
Definitely.
All right, that's our thoughts on Townsfolk Tussle. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.